Hey folks, so if you are building modern web apps, you likely are a big fan of Playwright, the web automation tool. But what if you were building native apps for desktop or mobile? Or what if you were rendering your UI with graphics libraries like Skiasharp? Well, for all of that, Uno platform brings the automation through MCP Tools. So think of it as Playwright for .NET apps. Let's jump in and take a look, shall we? All right, so I'm going to start here first with Playwright. This is very popular for web developers, and for good reason. It's reliable, it's web automation for testing, debugging, scripting, all those things, and for AI agents. And this is particularly useful in the age of AI, where we have so many agentic workflows generating so much of code for us. But who's to say that the code is actually working? So while Playwright gives you kind of the ways to see and interact with your web apps, so you can test and be a little bit more confident in what your web application is doing, right? So this is great, and Playwright has been around. You can use it in multiple ways. You can use it in your test harness or CLI. But my preferred way is MCP, Model Context Protocol. This is great for any AI agentic workflows. So if I head over to their MCP docs, it's all pretty simple stuff. You need Node.js and an MCP client like VS Code, Cursor, Windsurf, Cloud Code. You can, also happily use this from any, terminal-based AI agent. So installation is pretty easy. You essentially set up an MCP server, point it to Playwright, and off and running you go. If you're on VS Code, it's like a one click of a button to get it installed. Or if you're something like Cloud Code, then MCP add Playwright, and off and running you go. So it's pretty easy to get started. And then they walk you through exactly how you can start playing around with it. Here's a nice little site that they have, which is for demos. It's a little to-do site here. I'm going to copy that and bring that up. So it's just a nice to-do site, so I can test whether Playwright has access to my web app or not. So all of that is there. So let's actually go back here to the docs and see how we can get started and use this. So I'm going to hop over into VS Code. Again, you can use this from any ID of your choice, but VS Code makes it super easy in this case. If I head over to my extensions, and if I look at my MCP servers, that's where Playwright is listed, right? I can also search for it. Like if I do an at MCP search, these are all the MCP tools that are listed, and you can just find Playwright right there, and one click of a button and you have it installed. And essentially what it's doing is at a global level, setting up that MCP server so Playwright is accessible. So with that, I can start using Playwright, right? So let me head over here, and you can again use this from any AI agentic workflow that you might have. I'm going to use GitHub Copilot. So in this case, I can use any large language model or small language model. But if I look at the configurations here, all the things that my AI agent is using, right there is my Playwright MCP. And it has a bunch of tools here that are accessible to the agent. Now, I clearly see it, but just let's make sure that the agent sees it too. So do you have access to Playwright MCP tools? So we're just essentially checking that the agent has access to the MCP tools, and it says, yeah, I can do browser automation. I can do things like opening a web page, reading a page, clicking, typing, all those things. What can I do for you? And you can kind of see these things, what the tools are. They're nicely listed here. So within a browser, you can click, you can close, you can open, you can read console messages, drag and drop, hover, navigate back and forth, press keys, click on things, type in text, all those things, right? So that's pretty nice. So I can actually use this right away. I don't even need a sample local project, because the MCP tools and the documentation here kind of guide you nicely. So let's actually copy this over here. So this is a to-do list. So I'm going to say, let's navigate to that demo site and add a few items. So we are going to say eat, sleep, and code, right? We are developers, so that's all that matters. So let's fire this off. I may have done this before, so let's see if it maintains the state, but it's trying to pull up the demo site and driving page navigation directly through the agentic workflow. So it's thinking for a second. And let's see if the agent picks up and opens up a web browser. So it's saying, hey, can I do this? So I'm going to say, yes, you can. So it opens up right here. And that's the same, to-do list tab that we just saw. It's empty. And now it's going to, try to figure out what does the app UI look like visually as well as, semantically. And you can see like it's starting to add those things: eat, sleep, and code, those 3 items that I said. And it should be done. It's trying to confirm the final list state, but you can see what it's doing here. So it's adding item at a time. It's able to see and interact with your web app. Okay, there you go. Finally, it does, and it's now reading it. Added 3 items: eat, sleep, code, and you can see like the page now shows 3 items left. So that's exactly what it's doing. So it's reading the app, and again, it's giving you those interactive features so you can test your web application nicely. So this is Playwright. Again, I'm a big fan, but again, keep in mind it only works for web apps. But what if you were doing native apps? What do you do? Well, let's show you what the options look like here, specifically if you're doing Uno platform. So I'm a .NET developer, and .NET has always been my go-to for building modern apps. And I like to build cross-platform apps with .NET, and my preferred stack is Uno Platform. So essentially, from a single shared code base of .NET, I get to build an app that just goes everywhere. So I can run it on iOS or Android for mobile. I can, of course, run it on the web browser through WebAssembly, and yes, I can do Playwright for those, but I can also do desktop and embedded systems like Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So all the enterprise, your workflows, all the B2B or consumer apps that you might do, a lot of it is native apps. So how do you test those? Well, let's start here. Uno Platform gives me that foundation. So from that single shared code base, I can choose Skia or native rendering. I have lots of extensions, toolkits, and UI to keep me productive. And on top of it, I have Uno Platform Studio. This is a collection of all types of AI and design tools, which essentially make my inner dev loop really, really fast. So I can do design to code. I can do hot design with hot reload. So I have a design surface while my app is running. So I can tweak my UI, and everything that I do stays in sync between my app that's running with real live data and my code that's running in my IDE. And then we have MCP servers. Now, these are really helpful. So if I head over to the docs here, this is, again, Uno Platform docs. If you're just brand new, starting off, start here. If you look at getting started, you can notice the setup here. We are pretty agnostic. So you can do this from any OS, any IDE, or any AI agent of your choice. But if I head down here to the MCP documentation, you'll see that we have 2. That's really helpful. So first up is the Uno MCP, or kind of the remote MCP. This brings in the context of documentation. So agents should not be guessing or hallucinating. They should always be grounded by the latest docs. So this is what this MCP tool or set of tools do. They initialize the agent with the best practices. And then the agent can repeatedly do documentation search. They can fetch documentation pages. They can summarize. So everything is grounded by the docs. And then we have the app MCP, or the Uno MCP here. This actually runs local when you're building your apps. And this is what gives those AI agents the eyes and hands, so they can see and interact with your app exactly the way Playwright does. So they have runtime information. They can take screenshots. They can click on things. They can key press. They can type in text. All those things are interactive, and that's essentially what gives you the confidence in what AI is building for you, right? And that's how you can validate the UI. So how do I use this? Well, let's get into it. So I'm going to go back into VS Code, close down some of the Playwright things, and let me take you into an app, an Uno Platform app. I'm going to start here maybe with this one here. It's called Uno Reco because it's the recommended template that I use sometimes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can show you really quick. If I go to new.platform.uno, this is essentially a web app that kind of steps you through what you want in your Uno Platform project. So if I just hit start, it's going to walk me through a wizard of steps of what all do I want in my in my app. What's my app runtime? What are the platforms I want to support? iOS, Android, WebAssembly, and desktop. What's my presentation layer? What's my markup layer? What's my theme? What are some of my app features? All of that, right? And once you are done with all of this, you can just hit create. And that's the recommended template. So it gives you like a .NET CLI command, so you can go run this anywhere. And so the recommended is selected here. You can also start with a blank. And again, all of this is also available to you inside of Visual Studio. So you can do File, New Project. It's an extension. It's going to give you through the same wizard, and there is an extension for VS Code as well. But this is kind of the basic command line way of getting started. So that's my app, and I already have it up and running here in VS Code. You can see it's a single project solution here. I do have platforms, but those are platform-specific folders, and it's a multi-targeted build. So if I look at CS Proj here, these are all the places where my app is going to run. .NET 10, runtime with Android, iOS, WASM, desktop, and so on. Now, the default recommended template does wire up a whole bunch of these SDK features. So what's your theme? What's your hosting? What's your HTTP? What's your design pattern? Localization, all of those. So these are things you can add and remove as you're building your app. But just with the basics, I haven't changed a thing here. So these are all the places where my app can run. So let's do .NET 10 desktop just to make sure things are functional. I'm going to fire up a build here. You can see it's going to do a .NET 10 desktop build, and out comes a desktop app. Now this is an empty template, so it doesn't have anything, but it's meant for dev purposes. So it is showing that you're looking at the main page. That's the app name. That's the localization. You're in dev mode. And keep in mind, while my app is running, I have these two things. That's hot reload and that's hot design. All right. So at any point, I can click into hot design. And now I have a design surface while my app is running. In here, I have a design agent. So it's an AI agent that I can ask it to build some UI. I can go into interactive mode. I can click around. I can work with the app as a user would. I can also go into design mode where I have all of the UI that I can drag and drop. I can click on specific things, and then all of the properties of the UI show up here. And everything that I do here stays in sync with my code and my IDE. So that's my app. But we want to do things programmatically a little bit. So I'm going to close down the app here and show you what the AI agentic experience looks like. So let's pull up GitHub Copilot again here. And again, I can use any model of my choice. And if I look at the configs here, you can see that since this is an UNO platform app, we have already wired up these things for you. If for some reason you don't see it, it's an mcp.json. You can manually wire it up as well. But for the most part, we'll do it for you. So these are, again, the MCP tools that the agent has already have access to it. So this is UNO MCP that has the documentation search, fetch, and initialization. And then this is UNO app MCP, which is all of the interactive features, right? So my agent, be it Cloud, be it GitHub Copilot, Codex, Gemini, should be already set up with all the things. So just to verify, let's ask, do you have access to UNO platform MCP tools? Right? So we're going to fire up and make sure that it has, and here GitHub Copilot is saying, hey, these are all the things I can see. I can do a documentation search, fetch, and I can interact with your app. What can I help you with? So agents are always trying to help. Now, UNO platform MCPs are a little bit more than Playwright because of these documentation search and fetch things. So one thing I can do is never leave my ID. I'm always there. So if I say, tell me about, let's just say hot design, because that's what we looked at really quick. Hot design in UNO platform. Right now, before I fire this off, I'm going to go in here and actually change the approvals to bypass. I'm doing this just because it doesn't keep asking me over and over again. But again, be in the know, like not all terminal commands should be bypassed. So when you hear like AI has dropped a production database, that's not on AI. That's because of your rights and concerns and permissions. So treat it as a developer. Don't give AI full access to your production, obviously. So here, what you can do is actually bypass some of the MCP tool invocations, because otherwise that's going to ask you every time. So you can see like it did a couple of documentation searches. Those are MCP tool invocation, and then it fetched a couple of things, and it's giving me a summary of what is hot design in the first place: live UI editing, real-time synchronization, works anywhere, cross-platform, all the things that I want to know. It's right here, so I don't need to leave. So big benefit with the MCP tools right here. So all of the documentation searches, best practices are right here with my agent at all times. Okay, now let's look into some more agentic behaviors. I'm going to maybe bring the GitHub Copilot window over a little bit so I can see things bigger. So now let's do programmatic stuff. Let's launch the app on desktop. So you already saw me do a manual build and deploy, but here I'm essentially asking the AI agent to run it for me. So it's going to do the same .NET build, but you can see like it kind of went into using some MCP tools. So I'm going to make this go into just a regular app. So it's taking a screenshot. So here you can see where it's going. It's started the app, so it has programmatic access to the process. It's taking screenshots. GitHub Copilot likes to call me a captain. It's a setting. So it's just saying, hey, I see all of these things. What would you like me to do? So here, let me actually minimize GitHub Copilot or VS Code here a little bit more, just so I can put my app right next to it. So here's my app, and again, it's super simple, just a hello world template here, but I'm going to make it super small here and keep it right next to my VS Code. So I still have my hot reload right here, and hot design right here, so I can interact with it. So now that I have my app running and the agent has full visibility and control over your app, I can do fun things programmatically. So I can say, let's take a screenshot of the app, right? So maybe it already actually did a screenshot, but you can see what it's trying to do here. These are all the tools. So it's using that Uno app get screenshot, and it's saying, hey, this is what I see in the app. I see a text field, I see an input field, and so on. And if I hover over any of this, you're going to see exactly what the AI agents saw. So these are, again, a couple of tools that are at your disposal. So the AI agent can actually see and interact with your app, because the AI agents can see all of your code, but they cannot see your app. They cannot see the runtime information. And it's not just screenshots. They can actually look through the visual UI tree to understand your app, and that's how you can test things better. So now let's try out something else. Let's type Sam, my name, in the text input field. Right. So again, maybe I'm doing this in a headless mode just from a terminal. I don't even want to look at the app. I just want to test things out. So you can see what it's doing here. It's getting a visual snapshot of what the app looks like visually. And then it's trying to click in. Pointer click is going into the text box. And now it's actually pressing a key. And you can see like it's typing in Sam. Like that's not me, hands off, right? So it actually found the text box and typed in Sam. And now it's taking another screenshot to make sure that it did what I asked it to do. So here's a screenshot of the app where it says Sam. So it found a text box, clicked in, and typed in Sam. So that's great. Now, if I say, let's test the navigation to the second page, if I can type right. All right, so now I'm just saying, hey, I can see you can click in things, you can type. Can you do some navigation? Can you click on pointers or any part of the screen and find out? So it actually found that button, clicked on that page, went to the second page, and it's now again taking a screenshot to make sure that it actually did go to the second page. It says second page, so successful navigation, right? So you get the idea here. With your MCP tools, which are all listed up here, these are the Uno MCP tools, which is documentation, search, and fetch. And these are all the app MCPs. This is essentially Playwright for all types of your .NET apps. They can be running on iOS or Android. They can be running on the web browser. They can be running on Windows, macOS, Linux, all types of embedded systems. You have full programmatic access to all of it. So we don't need to be stuck with Playwright just doing stuff for the web. The same goodness is available for you while you're doing .NET native apps on desktop, mobile, and web. All right, so that's a quick look. If I go back here to where we started. So take a look at Playwright. If you're doing web apps, it's great. Works over test, CLI, and MCP modes. Great for web apps and testing out automation. But if you are building .NET apps, hopefully you're looking at something like Uno Platform, which is cross-platform by design, single shared code base, but it's .NET going to all the places. And you can deploy your apps and have that same level of automation testing And especially when it comes to using AI agents, you can have a lot more confidence in the code that AI is generating, as well as the UI. It needs to be functional. It needs to be testable, right? So that's what we are after, complete automation. And you can, write up test cases. You can write up a full suite of testing solutions where you involve the MCP tools, and you make sure that when you say, here's a spec or here's a requirement for an app feature, go build it. You're not in the dark, right? You have AI that can actually go through the list of steps. Like when I click on this, here's my expectation. So do all of those automation things to make sure that what comes out of AI agents is things that you have a lot more confidence in. And that's what we enable with MCP tools within our platform. So think of it again as Playwright for .NET Native Apps. So that's it from me. I can't wait to see what you build. Hope you have fun using MCP tools. And thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you on the next one. So yeah, thanks and bye.